The hell is that supposed to mean?
No.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're all having a great weekend. Welcome to another episode of Film Mania. Some of the famous celebrities from all around the world took part in the famous show called The Pawn Stars. The celebrities randomly visited the pawn shop looking for some old rare item. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the most famous celebrities who visited the pawn shop. So let's get right into it. Stan Lee. I guess no one needs the introduction of this guy. He was one of the famous celebrities in the world. Stan Lee is the founder of the famous Marvel Comics. Back in 2017, he was seen in one of the episodes of The Pawn Stars. The pop culture giant showed up in one of the pawn shops. Austin Chumley Russel met with Stan Lee at the Treasure Island attraction in the Marvel Avengers station. Stan Lee then agreed to visit the pawn shop and authenticate a piece of memorabilia brought into the shop by one of the fans. Stan Lee is the biggest comic book person of all time, and he also featured in some of the movies of the Avengers. Chumley asked Stan Lee to authenticate one of his signatures drawn by his fan and brought it to the pawn shop. He authenticated it to be his signature.
My signature.
So that is your signature, huh?
Oh, no doubt about it. Whose is it? Yours?
Bret Michaels. A girl named Rachel showed up in the pawn shops and presented a platinum album signed by Bret Michaels himself. Rick was sure that the album was worth a lot of money, but he was not sure about the exact worth of the album. He wasn't even sure about the signature being authentic. Rachel said that the album was a gift from her husband, who knew she was a huge fan of Bret Michaels. She wanted to sell it to make it special on her 20th marriage anniversary. Rick asked Bret Michaels himself to come to the shop and authenticate his sign, and give him an idea about what the album was actually worth. He came to the shop, and Rachel's reaction to seeing him was priceless. Later, the album was sold at a price of $2,000, which is a very good deal for the album.
Hello, how are you doing?
Katie Couric. The famous American television journalist was seen in one of the episodes of The Pawn Stars. She visited the shop and dropped some major cash in the shop. Katie is a huge fan of Mark Twain. There was a scratch card which was signed by Mark Twain, and it was even dated back in 1900. She negotiated with Rick for the price of that item for $20,000 to buy it at a price of $12,000.
Deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Sold?
Yeah, it's not every day we...
Dana White. For those of you who don't know him, Dana White is the current president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC. He showed up in the pawn shops in one of the episodes of The Pawn Stars. He dropped $69,000 in the shop for the Japanese samurai swords. One sword was a katana made in 1600 in Japan. Cost him about $30,000. Rick Harrison at first didn't want to sell the swords, but not wanting to sell the swords only motivated Dana to buy the swords even more.
It's all on you, buddy.
You know what?
Def Leppard. In one of the episodes of the Las Vegas Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, Pawn Stars, a woman bought a proof copy of a guitar signed by Jackson Phil Collen. She was hoping that she would sell it at a price of $10,000, which is a great amount of money. To authenticate the sign on the guitar, Rick calls Phil himself in their pawn shop. Phil also played the guitar for the customers in the shop. Later, Rick and the woman made a deal, and the guitar was sold at a price of $8,500. George Robert Stephenopoulos. George Robert Stephenopoulos is an American television host, former Democratic advisor of the White House, and political commentator. He is currently ABC's Sunday morning current events news program. He once showed up in one of the shows of the Pawn Stars. It was a shock for the fans and pawn shop owners as well. He said he is a huge fan of the world's famous pawn shops, the Pawn Stars. On his visit, he negotiated and made a few deals for some of the items in the pawn shop upon his visit. Steve Carell. Steve John Carell, one of the most famous Hollywood actors, once showed up in the famous pawn shops in Las Vegas. In one of the episodes of The Pawn Stars, he was seen looking around the pawn shop Gold and Silver. He was seen negotiating with co-founder of the pawn shop, Rick, over an item from the shop. Actually, the episode was about marketing Carell's new big screen film, The Incredible Burt Wonderstone.
Oh?
Matt Kenseth. Matthew Roy Kenseth, also known as Matt Kenseth, is one of the most popular former race car drivers from America. Rick is a huge fan of Matt Kenseth and NASCAR, in which Matt participated. Rick managed to invite and visit Matt in his pawn shops in one of the episodes of the Pawn Stars. This got the fans pretty engaged and they loved the episode.